It was pouring rain that night, the kind that hits the pavement so hard it sounds like the sky is punishing the earth. I stood at my kitchen window in our quiet apartment complex just outside Columbus, Ohio, coffee long gone cold in my mug. Down in the parking lot, under the flickering streetlights, was Sienna from 4B. My neighbor. The one who always waved in the hallway and left homemade banana bread on my doorstep with a little sticky note that said, "Don't be a stranger." Now her whole life was being dragged into the storm. The landlord had changed the locks right there in front of her. Boxes were soaked through. Her couch sat ruined against the dumpster. Sienna stood in a thin gray hoodie, arms wrapped tight around herself, trying so hard to look like she wasn't breaking. Rain mixed with tears on her face, I couldn't tell which was which. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed my keys, ran downstairs, and stepped straight into the downpour. "Sienna!" I called out. She turned, eyes wide with shock. Without thinking, I said it, "Move in with me." She stared for a long second, then gave this broken laugh that cut right through the rain. "That's not funny, Nolan." But I wasn't smiling. "I'm not joking." She shook her head, water dripping from her dark hair. "You don't even know me." "Not really." Then she turned away, back to the mess, like the conversation had never happened. I helped her carry a couple of boxes under the covered walkway anyway. When I offered again, softer this time, she just whispered, "Please stop. I can't do this right now." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing her in her car, or worse, nowhere at all. I'm no hero, just a 34-year-old graphic designer who works from home and likes the quiet. But seeing her like that cracked something open in me. I'd been alone since my last relationship ended 2 years ago. I knew exactly how it felt when the ground drops out from under you. The next morning, at 9:30 sharp, came the softest knock on my door. I opened it and there she was, Sienna, eyes red and puffy, clutching one small duffel bag like it held the last pieces of her dignity. Her voice was barely there. Was that a joke? Or an offer? I looked her straight in the eyes. It was an offer. Still is. She searched my face, waiting for the catch. When none came, her shoulders started to tremble. I lost my job 3 months ago. My mom's cancer treatments wiped out everything, savings, retirement, all of it. I sold my TV, my jewelry, even my grandmother's necklace. I fought so hard to catch up on rent. Now I have nothing. I can't go to a shelter, Nolan. I just can't. I stepped aside and held the door wider. The guest room is yours. No rent until you're steady again. We'll figure it out together. She stood there for what felt like forever. Then she walked in, set the bag down gently, and looked around my simple apartment like it was some kind of miracle. "Why are you doing this?" I shrugged, even though my heart was pounding. "Because I can. And because I meant it." The first week was pure awkward silence. She barely left the guest room. I'd hear her crying at night, soft, muffled sounds she tried to hide. Every morning I left a fresh mug of coffee on the counter, black, 2 sugars, the way I'd noticed she liked it once when she borrowed creamer. She'd slip out, take the mug, and give me the smallest, most grateful smile that made the whole apartment feel warmer. Slowly, the ice melted. She started cooking dinner some nights, simple pasta, stir-fry, anything to feel useful. I'd work at my desk in the living room while she hummed softly in the kitchen, and for the first time in years the place didn't feel empty. After dinner we talked. Real talk. How she'd always dreamed of teaching little kids but life kept knocking her down. How I moved here after losing my dad because I needed somewhere to start over. One rainy night, about 3 weeks in, we were on the couch watching an old friend's rerun. She opened up deeper. Told me about sitting beside her mom during chemo, working double shifts, promising herself she'd never become someone's burden. That's why your offer terrified me, she whispered. I don't know how to need anyone anymore. I'm scared I'll ruin this and you'll regret it. I looked at her, the way the lamplight caught the gold flecks in her eyes, the way her fingers twisted in her lap. I won't regret it, Sienna. I already don't. That was the first time she cried in front of me without hiding. Real, shaking tears. I pulled her into my arms and she held on like she was afraid I'd disappear. We stayed like that a long time, the TV forgotten. But it wasn't all gentle moments. A month later she landed a job interview at a nearby elementary school. She practiced answers in the mirror for days, nervous but glowing with hope. Then, on the morning of the interview, her old car died on the highway, in the rain, of course. She called me from the side of the road, voice cracking. I'm going to be late. I'm going to lose this chance too. I dropped everything, drove out, picked her up, and got her there on time. She walked into that interview looking professional and strong, but I saw the fear in her eyes. When she came back out smiling, wide and real, I knew she'd crushed it. On the drive home she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "You keep showing up for me. No one's ever done that without wanting something in return." I kept my eyes on the road. Maybe I do want something. But not what you think. She didn't push. Not yet. The hardest test came 2 months in. Her ex suddenly texted, some guy who bailed the moment things got tough. He heard she was doing better and wanted to talk. She showed me the messages, hands shaking. I almost replied. Because part of me still believes I don't deserve better than someone who leaves when it rains. That night we had it out in the kitchen, not yelling, but deep and raw. She said she felt like a charity case and needed to move out soon to prove she could stand on her own. I told her accepting help didn't make her weak, it made her human. That this stopped being about a spare room months ago. She looked at me across the table, eyes shining. Then what is it about, Nolan? I swallowed hard. It's about the fact that I meant it that first night in the rain. Not as a joke. Not even as kindness. I meant it because the thought of you out there alone hurt more than anything has in a long time. The silence stretched. Then she stood, walked around the table, and kissed me. Soft at first, then deeper, like she'd been holding it back for months. When we pulled apart she whispered against my lips, "I thought you were joking." I smiled. I never was. After that, everything shifted in the best way. She got the teaching job and started paying a little rent, not because I asked, but because it made her feel equal. We cooked together, laughed at silly jokes, stayed up late talking about dreams we'd both almost given up on. She taught me her mom's secret lasagna recipe. I taught her how to use my espresso machine without flooding the counter. We built something real, quiet, steady, and completely ours. Now, almost a year later, I still can't believe one reckless moment in the rain led to all this. We're not perfect. We still argue over whose turn it is to do dishes. She still gets anxious when bills stack up. I still worry I'm not enough some days. But we choose each other every single morning. Here's the truth I learned through all of this: sometimes love doesn't arrive with flowers and perfect timing. Sometimes it shows up soaked in rain, carrying cardboard boxes and a half-joking offer that turns out to be the most serious thing you'll ever say. It's about showing up when someone's world is falling apart. It's about staying when it gets hard. And it's about having the courage to turn a joke into a life you build together. If this story touched something in you tonight, do me a huge favor and smash that like button right now. It really helps the channel grow. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications.